There's only one way this ends. Last man standing.
Now you have this wonderful chemistry together in this movie. Was that something were you guys friends beforehand, or did that come out of rehearsal?
No, we met for the first time in our last audition. So that we had 3 auditions each, and the last one was to read with each other. And and I think, Sam put us together, and it just came out of like spending time together every day. I mean, we rehearsed the film for 6 months, and then we shot for another 3-4 months after that. Yeah. So we spent all day, every day together. And Dean is just the best bloke.
Like George is the best bloke.
He's a wonderful man and a top actor, and it was just a joy to be working with him. So, yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah.
You deliberately wanted unknowns for the lead, sort of relative unknowns for the lead roles. Yeah. But then you also do a really good job of casting these notable actors like Mark Strong, Colin Firth, and Benedict Cumberbatch in these other sort of command roles. Could you tell me more about why you specifically chose that sort of juxtaposition?
Well, I wanted an audience to have a fresh relationship with the central characters. You've got to feel like they're 2 amongst 2 million, and you don't know also whether they're going to live or die. You don't even know whether they're going to remain the central characters. So that was important to me. And then they intersect with these vast, huge lives, these figures of authority. And the reason Colin and Benedict and Mark and people like that are so well known is because they're really good. And I cast the best people for the roles, and luckily they all agreed to do it.
If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Hope is a dangerous thing.
Obviously, a lot of changes had to happen on the fly.
Yes.
I thought I'd heard you were on set pretty much every day.
Yeah, I was there all day, every day.
What do you think was the most challenging sequence or scene to sort of nail with those parameters?
For me, or for the film in general? Because
both.
Okay.
We'll do both.
So from the writing point of view, all of it was really difficult because, well, I knew right away that it was going to be one shot and it was going to be in real time, and that has a whole host of problems that we don't have time for me to bore you with. But basically, the script, instead of being a kind of map, has to be the finished film. It has to be the destination. So that was really, really tough. Every line is a prisoner because you've got to describe everything that Schofield and Blake see, but you can't have a 500-page script, and then you have to have an emotional arc. So blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. Super hard. The actual difficulty of achieving this, some of the shots where I saw them do it and I still don't know how they did it. Like sometimes I'd be watching it and I would literally be outside and look and watch the crane go, like it would be from a crane to 2 operators to 2 grips. It would go onto another crane, it would go into the back of a motorbike, it would go into the back of a quad bike, it would go, just unreal. The technical feat of this film was unbelievable.
I mean, you just try not to mess up every time, but it happens, like it's, we're all human. So we just keep rehearsing, and the thing is we'd just always be doing it. If we weren't shooting it, we'd be rehearsing it, whether for light or just in the day. So it was this kind of constant conveyor belt of trying to kind of, I don't know, narrow the sort of understanding down to that pinpoint that was the shot that we would use.
Everything was equally difficult because they were so long, the takes. Obviously, the more technically challenging ones were things like, walking across a broken bridge, across a canal, jumping down on the towpath, running up steps into a lock house, up the stairs, knocking down, falling backwards down the stairs, all this in one take. Very complicated technically, but then you'll actually probably spend longer on the more human scenes, the more emotional scenes, because yes, the camera work is quite delicate, but also you're trying to get a great performance. It's not just about how they use their bodies, it's about an emotional climax. And so in every way, every scene had its own challenges, was like a mini movie. And then you string these mini movies together as you go, like you say, and there's no way out. You can't edit, so you have to commit.
Physically, there was one time there was one time where we had a very narrow window. The weather and the lighting is so we were always at the mercy of the weather and the bigger things in shooting it. And we were looking for a very specific lighting state, which meant that we had a very finite window to get one particularly physical scene, which was a full sprint. And And basically we just went again and again and again and again and again within that time zone. And I remember thinking like my legs sort of walking back were shaking. And so that probably was, that constant sprint was, I think, the toughest physically.
We've got orders to cross here.
That is the German front line.
Hold man! We can't possibly make it that way, man! You bloody insane!
I was pleased to read that you share the same opinion that I do, that World War I is totally underserved when it comes to films, especially recently.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, and why do you think people are sort of starting to flock to it now? Because you've got this film, you had Tolkien earlier this year, and then The King's Man.
Yes. Well, I think, here's the thing, it's usually compared against the Second World War. The Second World War, you've got very clear villains in the Nazis, just the worst people ever. You've also got movement throughout the land, whereas World War I was literally people entombed in trenches, like buried 6 feet underground essentially for 3 years, just lobbing munitions at each other and then trying to like move each other inches each way. So it's really hard to tell a dynamic story through that isn't just all trenches and mud. And the good thing about 1917 was we found a very specific window of time, April 6, 1917, when a huge swathe of land opened up where the Germans had disappeared one morning and fallen back, and the British didn't know what was going on. So you get to play the confusion of warfare, the kind of madness of World War I, but you get to play it over a proper journey. And so you get a window into all of the war rather than just trenches and mud.